I started this channel because I was looking for the perfect laptop for programming. You see, I began my career as a software developer, 2 degrees in computer science, 8 years working in corporate software development. Even when I switched to product management, I actually still worked as a developer for a startup in my free time. But there was this one thing that just kept bugging me. I couldn't find the perfect software development laptop. So I started this YouTube channel. Well, fast forward 7 years and we've built an entire company to help people choose the perfect laptop. And guys, the people testing and reviewing these machines, we aren't journalists. We're actually software developers ourselves, we are engineers, and we are creators. We understand the workloads that we're recommending these laptops for. In fact, our website, bestlaptop.deals, it is a custom build. So, on behalf of all of us here, it is my pleasure to walk you through the best laptops for programming. I'm going to recommend laptops for all sorts of developers, web dev, remote dev, data science and AI, even devs who want to play games or make videos like this one in their free time. And of course, we haven't forgotten about those who want to run Linux. Most of these laptops, though, are expensive. This is a best of the best list after all. So, for each of the laptops I recommend, I'm also going to call out a value for money pick, ideal for people like students. Now, if those are still too expensive, please don't be discouraged. Guys, you can code on any laptop, you'll just have to be a little bit more patient. Speaking personally, I learned to code on an Apple IIe, and I guarantee you, any laptop that you're going to buy will be better than that. In reality though, this is where our website, bestlaptop.deals, just really helps. You see, over there we have more recommendations than I have time to cover today, and we do keep those recommendations up to date well after our videos go live. Plus, the site, it just really handles price changes very well. Today, a certain laptop might be a great buy because it's on sale. Tomorrow, it might not be. And good news, if you're in India, we just launched over there. Anyway, enough blah 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 from me, let's start the show. The best programming laptop for most people is the MacBook Pro 14. It is portable, it is powerful, everything about it is premium, but what's surprising about this laptop is how much code you can see on its 14.2-inch display. Seeing more code or multiple different windows open at the same time, it just makes you more productive. The reason the MacBook Pro is just so good at this is because of macOS's font rendering and the quality of its display. It's a bright, vibrant, mini LED panel with 254 pixels per inch. These factors make small code just look really sharp. You can essentially set your display scaling to just zoom out and see more. Compared to Windows laptops, even those with high-resolution screens, I find that I can see a similar amount to what I'd see on, say, a 15.3 or even 16-inch display. And even though it's a glossy screen, the MacBook's high brightness and anti-reflective coating just do a good job of handling reflections. That's in most environments. And you can upgrade it to a nano texture, which really cuts them out almost completely. But it's not just the display. The processors in the MacBook Pro 14 are just in a league of their own. If you can afford it, the M5 Pro 15 core, it's the one to get. It is a huge step up in performance from the base M5 chip. Compared to CPUs in similar Windows laptops, the M5 Pro, it performs better and it is more power efficient. On our scatter plot, you want to see more performance for less power draw. This leads to longer battery life when you're doing something intensive like compiling code. Now, don't be distracted by battery tests that YouTubers like us show you. Those tend to be for lighter tasks like office work or video playback. Intel laptops do really well there. Another reason I like the M5 Pro 15 core is that you get the upgraded 2-fan cooling solution. Since the M5 Pro 15 core actually draws the least power of Apple's Pro and Max chips, it means that this specific config has the least amount of fan noise and heat you feel. And it also comes standard with 24 gig of memory, which is good enough for most software developers. On that note, memory is the one thing that I see most people overspending on. If you don't know if you need more memory, you probably don't. Touch wood, this is not going to be the last laptop you'll buy, so please don't overspend future-proofing your purchase, especially not in the current market. In fact, I try to avoid customizations altogether. Many are only available from Apple and they are expensive. And Apple, they don't discount their laptops like retailers do. They don't put them on big sales. When you factor missing out on a sale, it really makes those upgrades make even less sense. Now, if you can't afford the version with the M5 Pro chip or you're a student, the cheaper M5 version, it's the one to get. It is more than good enough for coding, and if that's too expensive, just go for the MacBook Air 15. Now, rounding out this recommendation, Apple takes care of the little things. These laptops are very well built, they have the best trackpads, the webcams are solid, and if you get a Pro, it has great speakers too. Guys, you just have peace of mind when you purchase an Apple. Now, many of you may have been surprised that I recommended the 14 first over the 16. I will talk about the 16 later in this video, but the 14-inch, it's just more versatile. It is lighter and easier to carry around, and when you're home or in the office, you can dock it with an external monitor. It also just fits better in more places, like on a plane's tray table, and it is cheaper. With the MacBook Pro 16, you're forced to not only pay for its larger screen, but also its upgraded 18-core processor, which most software developers just do not need. But what should you get if you don't want a Mac or the apps you're developing just don't run on one? Well, the best programming laptop for you, it is a ThinkPad, specifically the ThinkPad X9 15. For a laptop with a 15.3-inch screen, it is very thin and light, it's very well built, it feels premium, and its screen is great for coding. It gets really bright, and like all the laptops I'm recommending today, it's a high-resolution panel, so small code just looks nice and crisp. There are actually two variants. There is the regular 15, which has basic performance. It's great for coders developing on remote servers or students. Then there is the 15P, which is the performance version. It has a beefier cooling solution, extra ports, and a more powerful processor. That one comes with an Intel Panther Lake H or X chip. Both the H and X chips, they give you similarly strong CPU performance, in the same class as Apple's M5. Expert tip, the X chips, they're normally the ones with a better integrated GPU. But this specific H chip, it has one too, so you might just want to save money and get that version. Both are going to be good enough for low-end gaming and light video editing. Now, the battery life on both of the ThinkPad X9 15s, it is amazing, it really is. If I am to nitpick though, the X9 15's keyboard has 1.35mm of key travel, but typing on it just feels a little low travel, similar to typing on a MacBook Pro and not as good as ThinkPads of old. And on the topic of older ThinkPads, the X9, it doesn't have the iconic red track point. I'm completely fine with it, given it has an excellent haptic trackpad, but I know some of you guys won't be. Next up is the best programming laptop for hardcore techies. It is the Framework 13 Pro. It is the only laptop that is designed for developers. In fact, it literally says it on their website. Framework laptops are completely modular and upgradable. Everything from the CPU to the ports to the memory. Yes, this is the only laptop right now using LPCAMM2, which is fast upgradable memory. And there are tons of ways to customize this laptop. What also sets the Framework apart is their commitment to Linux. Their laptops are built to run it, and they have extensive guides online, and if you're stuck, there is a very active community. The Framework 13 Pro is their latest. It feels more premium than their prior models. I also think it just looks better. The older one just looked a bit bland and kind of Frankenstein-y. This one just looks more cohesive, at least if you customize it like we've done. The Pro also has a haptic trackpad and options for 3 of Intel's Panther Lake chips. Get the base chip if you're just using your laptop to log in and develop off remote servers. Get the X7 if you are developing on your laptop itself, or you need powerful graphics. We don't recommend the X9 chip, as we've seen minimal benefit of it over the X7. Rounding out the Framework, just like frameworks of old, it has a very comfortable keyboard. But there are downsides to this laptop's upgradability. Firstly, even though the Framework 13 Pro feels more premium, it isn't at the same level as a MacBook. Also, it only has a single fan cooling solution. It's not as robust as most dual fan ones. And thus far, the economics of an upgradable laptop, they haven't really made sense, at least not yet. Framework's new boards with their new processors, they can be expensive. For most people, it just makes more sense to buy a regular laptop, sell it and buy a new one every couple of years. You see, by doing that, you'll get more than just a new processor. And lastly, but importantly, its screen is small, 13.5 inches. It is a 3:2 aspect ratio, so you do see a couple more lines of code going down the page, but it's still small. Now, Framework, they do have a 16-inch laptop, but I don't think it's as compelling. It is huge, it is heavy, and it does not perform nearly as well as other laptops that size. On that note, I'm going to step it up and talk about the 16-inch programming laptops. My number one recommendation is once again a MacBook. It's the MacBook Pro 16. Given what I already said earlier about the MacBook Pro screens allowing you to see more content than on similar-sized Windows ones, that is just amplified here. I find that I can see a similar amount on the MacBook Pro 16 screen as an 18-inch high-quality Windows laptop. And just like the 14-inch, the processor options here are crazy powerful. Get the M5 Pro chip if you're sticking to CPU-only tasks like coding. You see, all 3 available chips in the MacBook Pro 16, They have the same CPU performance because they have the same CPU component. The only real difference here is the higher-end ones have faster memory bandwidth, which is a rounding error of difference for most coders. Even if you're doing creator work like video editing, as long as your projects are somewhat simple, the MacBook Pro 16 with the M5 Pro chip, it is totally fine. It's only really professional video editors like us here who should upgrade to an M5 Max chip. Those do have a second media engine, which does make a difference. Or people who can make use of all the extra GPU cores, say you're running AI models locally on your laptop. Some other benefits of the MacBook Pro 16 over the smaller 14 is that it does feel cooler to the touch, particularly when doing performance tasks, and it has longer battery life. Alright, what happens if once again you want the Windows equivalent of a MacBook Pro 16? Say you want to play the latest AAA games. Well, there are a couple of good alternatives, each with unique pros and cons. The closest comparable is probably the Zephyrus G16 from Asus. It's built very well, it looks great in its silver color, and it has a stunning OLED panel. Now, it isn't quite as crisp and high resolution as some of the others on this list, but it's good enough. What makes it so special though is it pairs a Panther Lake 8 chip with a powerful NVIDIA GPU, up to a 5070 Ti actually, or even a 5080. Now on that note, I'd pick the 5070 Ti. Even though Asus states that this year's G16 can feed its GPU 160 watts, which is close to the max for a 5080, it doesn't play out. It's rare its GPU is fed more than 140, which is the max for a 5070 Ti. If you do go for a more basic 5070 or 5060 model, good news, those versions are even more portable because they are a millimeter thinner, they don't need as robust a cooling solution. With the Zephyrus, there's only a couple of nits. Firstly, if you want a completely silent laptop for coding, the G16 it isn't it. Even in its silent mode, you can often hear a tiny bit of fan noise. Secondly, it's darn expensive. And finally, its keyboard requires a little too much force for my personal liking. Sierra and Sam, they do like it, but it's not my favourite. I actually prefer typing on the Razer Blade 16. The Blade has perky RGB, which looks really cool. It has faster ports including Thunderbolt 5, and it does a slightly better job of handling a 5080. Still not full performance, but I'd be more comfortable getting that GPU in the Blade. The Blade's downside is that, like the G16, it does have a little bit of fan noise even if you're doing light tasks using its silent mode. Its keyboard is also shifted to the left to make room for a column of special keys, which you might mispress, especially if you use a different keyboard at work versus home. It also can have a bunch of little issues pop up. It's a laptop you do need to be patient with. If both those laptops are too pricey, totally get it. The new Legion 7i or 7A, it's more reasonably priced and it's what I'd recommend. It's also very slim and portable, and it actually has the most comfortable keyboard of the three. Not only is its click very comfortable to type on, but its arrow keys are actually large and not smushed together. It also has a screen that is just as good as the Zephyrus or Blade for coding on, but it maxes out at a 5070. And its build quality, it really isn't at the level of Razer's or Zephyrus's, at least not the 2026 model. It now feels more like a high-end value-for-money laptop versus a premium one. But before you buy the Legion 7, take a look at Lenovo's own Yoga Pro 9i. It feels more premium than a Legion, but it's not quite at the level of the Blade or the Zephyrus, it's kind of in between. It also includes an Intel Series 3 Panther Lake processor, and it has a powerful NVIDIA GPU. This year's Yoga Pro 9i, it is a little smaller and lighter than last year's, which is a good thing. There are two screen options available, both are great for coding. They both have high resolution, fast refresh rates, and one is an OLED, but one, the more expensive one, is a tandem OLED. What really adds to the coding excellence of this laptop though is its keyboard. It is the most comfortable and satisfying keyboard of any laptop on this list, including the Legion 7. So the obvious question is, why did I bother recommending the Zephyrus and the Blade at all? Well, firstly, the Yoga Pro 9i taps out at a 5070 12GB. This sounds powerful, but it's not actually fed full power, so it won't perform as well as when that same GPU is in one of the gaming laptops I've already talked about. Also, although the Yoga Pro 9i does have an accurate haptic trackpad, it has palm rejection issues. This is a laptop that you will want to bring a mouse with you. Overall, if you only need mid-range graphics performance, the Yoga Pro 9i, it is a more premium alternative to the Legion 7 and cheaper than the Blade or Zephyrus, so it's a good option. If all of these are too expensive though, I gotcha. Try to find an IdeaPad Pro 5 with AMD or 5i with Intel. It's a cut-down version of the Yoga Pro 9i with a less powerful GPU. Now, another value for money option is Gigabyte's Aero X16. It's very light and portable, it has solid GPU options, a good screen, and in today's market it's just more affordable, especially for the 32GB of memory config. Its main downsides are that it does feel cheaper, its keyboard is a little mushy to type on, and its GPU isn't fed full power. But given its price, we feel these trade-offs are worth it. But what happens if you want a large screen programming laptop but you don't want a dedicated GPU, and you certainly don't want to be paying for something you're not going to use, or have the increased weight from it? The ZenBook A16 is much cheaper than many of the 16-inch laptops that I've talked about today, and it is great for coding. It is crazy thin and light, especially when you consider it's very well built with a large 16-inch panel. And guys, that screen is a vibrant OLED with all the metrics you'd want as a coder. Its keyboard is comfortable to type on, and it can come with a massive 48GB of memory, perfect for running multiple VMs. This laptop, it does have a Qualcomm X2 processor inside. It's kind of a similar chip to Apple's M5 series. It is based on the ARM architecture, and it gives you better CPU performance and power efficiency than similar sized laptops with Intel or AMD. However, this chip does bring with it some downsides. Firstly, you need to make sure all your applications work and work well on this hardware. Most coding IDEs that we've tested, tools and compilers, they work well. But there are a handful of exceptions. Android Studio, it doesn't run natively, and the Android emulator, it doesn't work at all. We still haven't been able to get Linux running either. Also, Qualcomm's integrated GPU, it's not as good as what Apple or Intel have. In fact, check this out. In Still Nomad, Qualcomm trails Intel's X chip, that is, by about 10 to 20%. Doesn't seem like much, but that's because Still Nomad Lite, it runs natively. TimeSpy, on the other hand, it doesn't. It runs through emulation. You can see that there is a performance hit of doing that. Look, you might think, hey Josh, how did I give such glowing recommendations to the MacBooks when some apps don't run on macOS at all, like TimeSpy? The difference is this. With Macs, it is clear what works and what doesn't. With Qualcomm, it isn't. You may think an application runs because it runs on Windows, but it may not run well or run at all on this version of Windows. So, what happens if you want the broad application compatibility that Intel gives you in a similar laptop? Well, the Asus Swift 16, that's what I'd get. It uses a Panther Lake X chip, it's another thin, light and premium laptop that is very well priced for what it is. But like all laptops, it has gotchas. It has this giant haptic trackpad that has horrendous palm rejection. This is a laptop you need to use with a mouse. Finally, bonus pick, the Asus ZenBook Duo. This is a dual-screen laptop that can also be used as a regular one. The keyboard and trackpad module, it detaches and works wirelessly, and it charges when it's reattached. You got two 14-inch screens, which are obviously fantastic for coding. I don't know about you guys, but I find it just much easier to arrange applications on two separate screens rather than one large one. Now, the Duo comes with a powerful Panther Lake X chip, so it's got good enough performance for coding, certainly, a bit of gaming, or even creator work. Again, so long as your projects are simple. This year's Duo, it has been redesigned. It feels significantly more premium and just more cohesive than the older models. Its hinge, it's one of the areas where it has been improved. Although it's not technically designed to work in book mode, it now can. My main gotcha with this laptop is that although its keyboard is very comfortable to type on when it's docked, when you undock it, it does lie flat on a desk and it kind of feels a bit awkward to type on. It really needs some legs to prop it up. Other than that, the Duo is thicker and heavier than a regular laptop with one screen, and it is crazy expensive, but there isn't anything quite like it. Well, that's all I got for you. What did you think of my recommendations? Let me know with a comment down below. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are looking for a laptop at a different price point, you'll find all the programming ones we recommend over at our website, bestlaptop.deals. Obviously, over there, we can recommend more laptops than I had time to cover today. Now, on that note, many of these laptops, these 2026 ones, they haven't really changed all that much from last year. I'd say the 2025 models give you, say, 80 to 90% of what these new ones do. So if you can find one of those older models for a couple of $100s off, I'd strongly consider it. Finally, please don't ask AI for a programming laptop recommendation. A lot of its recommendations are really bad. It looks for consensus and it heavily bases its recommendations off low-effort listicles that these traditional publications have just flooded the internet with to generate affiliate sales. This means it recommends laptops that are old and just may not suit your specific needs. As I already said, we here have an entire team of real programmers making sure our recommendations are accurate and up to date. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.